Welcome to Fast Effect Double Speed Magic the Gathering from ELD's Time Vault Games in Bellingham, Mass. And also now on Discord. We are playing over the webcam, which is really improving week to week. People's layouts are getting better and better as we kind of figure out the nuances of playing over webcam. Heather, I believe, is going to be on a Phoenix deck that she's been tinkering with to very interesting results. It's had some incredibly strong openings, and there's also been some games where it doesn't come together. So let's see how this kind of crazy combo deck will square off against Matt's, I guess, more, what would you say? It's going to more consistently do something. So when Aluren doesn't come together with the combo, at least you still have the Oko plan, you still have the control role that the deck can play. So Aluren, overall, I would say truly fumbles less. There are certainly games where Phoenix legit does nothing when, a Buried Alive gets Force of Willed or something and the hand actually doesn't end up doing anything. It's much less likely to happen to Aluren, where Phoenix can close things out pretty quickly. So I'm excited to see how this one goes. Looks like players are ready to go here. Maybe a issue. I'm going to pause. All right. I'm not quite sure what the delay was there. Oh, it's actually Goblins. So I did all of that hyping up of Phoenix. Brutal. Force of Will. Stopping Aether Vial. Goblins probably means you're not going to be playing an Aluren until you're actually ready to win, as they can literally use the Aluren to combo off. Goblin Matrons can go get more Matrons and just kind of spam the board pretty effectively. Mog War Marshal helped out by this Cavern of Souls, as will future key Goblins. Cavern providing 2 pieces of core functionality for Goblins, which is now a black-red deck. Really entrenched in those colors at this point. Slingang Lieutenant, such an incredibly powerful card. So mana fixing, and of course making them uncounterable versus traditional counterspells like Force of Will and Daze, but also things like Chalice of the Void. Gilded Goose coming down from Matt, getting some food, which can potentially gain some life later on. Looks like a cat attack. Wow, that cat's tail is all up in the camera. And Goblins pushing through a point of damage. And a Munitions Expert taking down Gilded Goose. Wasteland. So one of the main things that Goblins has to supplement its battle strategy here is mana denial. So you've got Wasteland, Rishadan Port, and the ability to kill mana dorks. All of that coming together for Goblins here. Now a Goblin Lackey. A little late to the party, but he has finally arrived, and we'll see what he brings with him. And this is very much what Goblins is looking to achieve. We've got a Goblin Crater Maker coming in, and Port continually going after this basic island, and that is going to be enough for Matt. Moving on to the next game. That basic island, usually you'd be wanting to use that for things like Ponder, to be able to keep digging and find more mana and work your way out of that, but tapping it during the upkeep means you pretty much have to be firing off an ill-timed Brainstorm and then drawing one of those cards for turn, which is really pretty suboptimal, so Rashad and Port can do an awful lot to screw with the efficiency of your cantrips. Oh, Matt's feed just dropped. Alright, here we go. Bunch of sideboarding. Cameras dropped out for a second there. However, Matt on the play, leading out with a snow-covered forest into presumably Gilded Goose. And it is the bird best equipped for dealing with things like Goblin Lackey. Other mana dorks will actually die or trade, whereas Gilded Goose can just hold it off and still provide the necessary ramp. Ooh, a Collector Oof. An excellent reply to this Aether Vial. Unfortunately, he is somewhat fragile, so... Oh, looks like Heather might have been on a one-lander Aether Vial hand. That's pretty brutal. She's going to fire off this Pyrokinesis now. Pitching Goblin Matron. Ooh, that is a strong Pyrokinesis, taking out Gilded Goose and Collector Oof. And, oh, actually, she's got a Wasteland as well. She was just really thinking through what red card to use. So, Matt back down to 1 land, now to 2. Aether Vial ticks up. Ice Fang Codal flashed in end of turn to draw a card. And it's worth noting it does not have Death Touch as of yet, but it pretty much kills most of the goblins. I mean, there's a lot of X1s. Now, there are plenty of times where you're just going to need to throw that in front of a Goblin Lackey, and that's going to be acceptable. End of turn, 2 mana for a Crater Maker. And he can take out this Ice Fang at any time for only 1 mana. Gonna swing for 2. Yeah, Crater Maker, really a tremendous addition to Goblins, giving it so much interaction. Very often when we're brewing decks, we kind of hone in on win conditions and spectacular ways to finish the game, but Goblins is kind of always forced into the role of, you know, having that discipline to include cards that actually interact. If you were to build Goblins in a vacuum, maybe you're going to be doing 4 Pile Driver, 4 Goblin War Chiefs, trying to get a lot of turn 3 wins as fast as possible. At the end of the day, those type of draws are not good enough versus so many combo decks. But you start including things like Goblin Crater Maker, all of a sudden, a deck like Sneak and Show might have a tough time killing you. Like maybe they can't actually get an Emrakul together in order to get an attack step, and now they've got to try and kill you with Gristlebrand, which is possible, but again, you can kill him with different effects as well. I mean, a Pile Driver can potentially be forced to be chump blocked and be bigger than a Gristlebrand. But yeah, Crater Maker adds just a ton of interaction. Taking out creatures and colorless enchantments. Oh, and here we go. Aluren plus Recruiter of the Guard. We gonna have any responses here from Heather? For another Recruiter of the Guard. For a Baron. Now Baron is getting Pyroblasted. Oh, and that resolves. Mog War Marshal coming down. So Matt pumping the brakes on the second Recruiter of the Guard. Could have gotten all 4 of them if he wanted to have a better board presence. That does make it more difficult for him to combo off later. Of course, if you draw a Recruiter, you're right back in the game if you run Eternal Witness, which he might not. He might not actually have Eternal Witness. And now we've got a Plague Engineer. That's a strong one. That's a strong card here. Pyrokinesis would have been welcome. But no, we've got a Plague Engineer sticking. And now Matt able to ponder. He's got an Aluren on board. And that can help Heather with Goblins, particularly if she draws Goblin Matron, to find a way out of this. Oko. Another Pyroblast. These Pyroblasts stopping the game from just ending on the spot. However, a big underdog here in game 2. Plague Engineer turning sideways. Which might be too risky. I'm actually not sure if I'd attack with Plague Engineer, to be honest. Goblin Trashmaster would be a blowout. Probably just stick to attacking with those Ice Fangs and the Recruiter of the Guard. This Plague Engineer will hold down the fort as long as he stays around. He's going to be somewhat difficult for Goblins to kill. Most of the creature removal does need a nice little squad of Goblins to support it. A Thoughtseize here sees a Skirk Prospector and an Aether Vial, and Matt's got to feel really good about that. Aether Vial being taken. I probably would have taken the Prospector just to make Pyrokinesis a bit more difficult. I mean, there's no shortage of red cards, but there are lands and black cards and Aether Vials and sideboard cards that could potentially not fit the bill to be pitched for a Pyrokinesis. Oko now. This time, gonna resolve, and that should completely put an end to this. The Aether Vial elked Heather with just 2 mana to play with. And now the food becoming an elk. Unglued sheep in Matt's case here. And Ice Fang coming in. And Heather, at this point, going to be facing a decision in terms of, does she want to be going for a draw or a win in this match? And is she going to feel better about having a lot of time on the clock, or is there a certain amount of time that she thinks gives her deck better opportunity to win than her opponents? And to be honest, with Aluren, I kind of feel like as much time as possible is preferable. I mean, Aluren has the ability to win faster, or at least as fast as Goblins. I mean, you can just turn 3 the Aluren. Goblins can also technically win on turn 3. A Goblin Ringleader. Sees what looks like a Pashalik Mons and a Goblin Warchief. And Pashalik Mons could cause some chaos here. Able to ping some of these creatures. But Oko, pretty big. Yeah, Pashalik Mons. What am I seeing here? She's attacking. Oh, beautiful. So able to use Aluren in response once the Ringleader's been blocked, and then play a Skirk Prospector. That dies. And now Plague Engineer is off the board, so some solid play here by Heather. But still a massive underdog to an onboard Aluren and a ramped-up Oko. But no more Plague Engineer. Pashalik Mons getting elked. And And 3 damage coming in skyward. Not casting the War Chief end of turn. Can play it at any time thanks to Aluren. And Sling Gang Lieutenant. Hello. Things are getting interesting here. Now, Pashalik Mons being elked. Really, really important, because if he was flinging damage every time one of these goblins died, this would be an absolute bloodbath. But it's going to be elks and a couple of goblins. I mean, it's 10 damage. It needs to be dealt with. An elk. A Gilded Goose being flashed in. Looks like we're going to see at least an elk blocking. And we've got ourselves a game here. I mean, I'm actually very surprised. Looks like we're going to see some draining going on here. The Sling Gang Lieutenant hoping for like a Muxus off the top, which that Goblin War Chief actually would have enabled to be cast. So tough to say if it was worth letting that War Chief die there. But I mean, Goblins does want to be turning sideways. Pushed through some damage. And that is going to do it as Matt turns sideways. So Heather fighting really valiantly in that game. We'll see if this one actually finishes in time. A Aether Vial, uncontested this time. Ponder for Matt. Rashad and Port. Classic Goblins line here, getting a vial on their side to get the... Oh, into Goblin Lackey. That is like ideal. Increasing your mana output and decreasing your opponent's. Pashalik Mons coming down into another Goblin Lackey. And Port activating again. Things really going well here for Goblins. We'll see if Heather can drop a serious bomb off of one of these lackeys. Gilded Goose coming down, looking to do some blocking. Violet 3. And now Gem Palm Incinerator getting that blocker out of there, drawing a potentially Savage card. Now a land for the Rashad Port would be good, or a Goblin to put in. Either one is going to be welcome. We've got a Goblin Pile Driver and a Skirk Prospector. Rashad Port taps down a land during the upkeep, brainstorming in response. Wasteland, no useful targets right now, just a couple of basics and a Flooded Strand. But if Matt is forced to fetch a dual land, it will not be around for long. He should have some more basics in the deck that he can fetch up, but that does make it difficult to resolve Aluren, which may be his only way out of this game. He's going to need another green source. Facing down 9 damage from the Pile Driver alone. And he is, worth noting, protection from blue. Oko and him not on speaking terms. Aether Vial putting just about anything in would be near lethal. And we've got a Euro. All right, that's going to give Matt a little bit of a buffer of life. And that second green source. Vialing up to 4. During the upkeep, putting in Recruiter for the whiff. Or Ringleader for the whiff. And everything turning sideways. Plus 11 on the pile driver. So much damage. And that is actually going to do it. That is actually lethal, I guess, as Matt scooping it up to a tremendous draw there for Goblins. You know, that's exactly how you draw it up. Slowing down your opponent's mana, establishing a clock, ramping with Aether Vial. Everything came together as Goblins. I mean, I guess you could call it a plan. I don't think they'd like that term, but I mean, that's what it looks like from the outside. That is all for this one, but don't worry, there is a lot more. You can check out our older videos, and we're always putting out new videos from ELD's Time Vault games in Bellingham, Massachusetts. If you want to help the channel, of course, you can like, subscribe, share, tap that notification bell so you can know the next time our new videos come out. Thanks for watching.